In this video, I'm going to share with you how I cracked the code to the law of assumption by Neville Goddard. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand how you can crack the code in your own life. Now, for a little more context, in case you're new to the law of assumption by Neville, I'm going to be sharing some quotes so you can better understand what he was meaning by the law of assumption, how powerful the law of assumption really is, and help you better understand how it will change your life when you understand how to leverage it correctly. Now, to start things off, I want to share and get clear on what an assumption is. An assumption is anything you give permission or consent to be true about you. That doesn't mean it's an objective fact. It just means that you've had a previous experience where you feel that is true for you. What you deserve, what you don't deserve, how the life works with money, how life works with relationship in regards to you. The first quote I want to share with you is, "The drama of life is a psychological one, and the whole of it is written and produced by your assumptions." So realize he doesn't say that some of the things that you're experiencing that might be difficult or dramatic, they're coming from things outside of you. No, he says that all of it is written and produced by your assumptions. So if you have something in your life that's going on that you would like to change, you're going to have to change it at the assumption level. Let me now share with you a second quote that really shows you how powerful and critical your assumptions are when it comes to being able to change your current circumstances. "Watch your assumptions with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Assumptions have the power of objective realization. Every, and I reiterate, every event in the visible world is a result of an assumption or idea in the unseen world. Now, this is the literal definition of manifestation. Making visible what is invisible, making seen what is unseen. Your assumptions are the origins of your current circumstances. Now, this could be that you're attracting those people and recreating those assumptions, or it could be the assumption lenses, that's all you can see. So if anything outside of you goes against that, your mind won't be able to take it in. Your subconscious takes in anywhere from 20 to 50 million pieces of information per second. So your subconscious is the warehouse of your assumptions. And all that your conscious mind, which only rules 5% of your waking life, the unconscious, your subconscious rules 95%. So all your 95% is going to allow into your conscious mind is anything that goes along with your current assumptions. Even though there's proof in the world that that's not accurate, that something else exists, you won't be able to perceive of it with your senses. Now, the third quote that I want to share with you that shows how powerful the law of assumption is, how you can start to cultivate new assumptions that will change your life is, and this is a blend of two different quotes, but I feel like they so perfectly go together that it's necessary. "The present moment is all important. The present moment is all important. For it is only in the present moment that our assumptions can be controlled." So you can't think about the past and try to change them. You can't think about a future and think about changing them. Current moment, present right now is the only time you can actually have a chance to make a new choice to change your assumption. Your assumption to be effective cannot be a single isolated act. It must be a maintained attitude of a wish fulfilled. Now, something I find really interesting here is he uses the word attitude. And according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, that's a repeated way of seeing the world that goes along with thinking, feeling, and acting. That is your attitude of how you meet the world, the list of stories, your personality. So you have to actually shift that in order to be in the new attitude, aligning with the wish fulfilled. And all the assumptions that need to support that have to be changed before you see that visible change of circumstances happen and shift in your outside reality. If this doesn't happen, you continue to have the old attitude. You'll continue to think, feel, and act in the old way, which recreates the past and keeps you stuck in that cycle. You'll put in all the energy, but nothing in your circumstances will change. Now I want to share with you the 3 secrets on how you can crack the code to the law of assumption and start to cultivate new assumptions so you can start to leverage this power and start to see sustainable changes in your outside world. But before we get into those 3 secrets, I want to share with you the biggest mistake that I see people making when they've tried to implement the law of assumption. So maybe you've tried to implement a new assumption and you put out the effort and nothing changed. And maybe you're thinking, well, how in the world can I assume something different when all of my current circumstances are reflecting back to me my current assumption? And you could be feeling like this is impossible, and really debating, is this even real? Well, I want to share with you the mistake people make and where people get so lost in this, and the mistake that I was also making that was keeping me stuck. And when I learned to stop making this mistake, I was able to then actually cultivate and create new assumptions that allowed me then to see different circumstances show up in my outside world. So one last quote to help you understand the mistake people make, and that is, Neville said, "You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled until that assumption has all the sensory vividness of reality. You must imagine that you are already experiencing what you desire. That is, you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled of your desire until you are possessed by it, and this feeling crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness." But where people get stuck is here, which is step 1. You've got to think, you've got to imagine what that assumption would be. But they just stay stuck in the electrical part, right? So thoughts send out an electrical impulse into the universe, okay? It's a new signal. Okay, this is what I'm wanting. But the feeling state, which is the body, which is the sensory aspect, remember, you have to assume it until it reaches the sensory vividness, that you can feel it and that it feels safe to feel it. A lot of times, if you grew up and when you were joyous, when you went and connected, you got in trouble. Maybe you wanted to play with your friends, go outside, and your parents were saying, no, you've got to work hard. You've got all this homework. Don't be selfish. Spend time with your family. Whatever it was, that idea that I can't go and do what I want and have what I need and have connection. So I've got to limit myself. I've got to deny that, which becomes your shadow, in order to stay safe. But what kept you safe as a kid now is creating a prison, because you can think of it, but you can't attract it. Dr. Joe says the strongest thing is your feeling, the magnetic aspect. All your assumptions live in your physiological, in your body, in your subconscious. It's all the same. And if you don't upgrade your assumptions, which are the gatekeepers, right, to the feelings, if you assume it is selfish, if you assume you can't have what you want, if you assume you're not good enough, it will lock the gate for you to be able to feel that, because your subconscious will see it as a danger. It will see it as a threat. And whatever is a threat, we're survival beings. We will avoid threat to stay safe, even if we're miserable. So starting to understand that most people get stuck because it stays in an idea. They think of the money, they think of the relationship, but they still feel not good enough. They still feel like they don't deserve it, or whatever your assumptions are. So realize the reason you have these physiological, vivid, sensory assumptions are from a past experience. But right now, your desired assumptions are just stuck in your head. They can't come down here yet. But these next 3 secrets I'm going to share with you on how you can crack the code are going to show you how you can open up the feeling aspect by understanding how to change your assumptions so that you can understand the level you need to get to actually create change in your assumptions. You can't just think of them. You have to be in them. And to do that, you have to feel safe. So here is secret number 1. Now, if this is resonating for you, I am currently offering one-on-one sessions where we'll sit down together via Zoom. We will break down your situation so that we can start applying this to your life. And so far, the clients I've had have had powerful realizations that help them to detach from those old assumptions and step into that feeling much easier than before. So if this resonates, there's a link below. Follow the link. You're going to fill out some questions and we will sit down and get you the support and help that you need. So part 1 for how to actually tap into the law of assumption is going to be able to understand how to change your assumption. Well, in order to change the assumption, the way that I found is the easiest is to understand what is gluing together the current assumption. And when I started to realize what was gluing it together, it was actually able to really easily dissolve. So first, you got to understand, as a kid, whatever your primary attachment figure, it could have been a mom, dad, grandma, aunt, whoever was responsible for you and your safety, we think this person, we put them on a pedestal like they're a god. They know everything. They know how to get food. They know how to get money. They know how to take us to the places. But in that acceptance, we say, yeah, they know better even emotionally. So if this person was emotionally immature, they didn't have skills, they didn't have the maturity, the capacity, we think, oh, it must have been us. They know everything. They're great. It must be us. So that's actually the birthplace of shame, right? I'm not good enough. I am not enough. Because if I was, this person would have met my need because they have everything. And the reason they didn't give it to me, or the reason there was interference, was because of me. So I must not be good enough. Maybe when you asked for what you needed, when you asked for just anything, they said, oh God, you're too much. God, what else do you want? Huh? What now? Because why? This person felt overwhelmed. This person, who knows what was going on? Was that about your needs? No. But at that time, you thought they know better. And then maybe when you did ask and you got what you needed, you were seen as selfish. Oh, wow. Okay. What else do you want? You got what you wanted. That's what those other people do. That's the greedy people do. Whatever it could be. This could be about relationships or attention or money, whatever. Now, what you got to understand is that your early on assumptions, the negative assumptions in your life that are holding you back from your desire, they're the assumptions that you interpreted through the lens of this person. So the opinions, the expectations, the judgments. So these experiences, these interpretations of you, these are distortions. So you think, oh, this is my assumption. This is my self-concept. And I assume everything based on how I was treated in this early on environment. That's our introduction to relationships. Relationships romantically, with friends, and with money. We'll replay this dynamic until we realize, oh, they don't actually get to tell me who I am. I get to tell me. And when I look at this through the lenses of my adult self, this is you, this is current you, this is little you, okay? I know it's so complex. But when you see this and you relate to this differently, wow, actually I wasn't selfish for having a need. I was a kid who has needs and I deserve to have them met. I wasn't too much. Maybe this person didn't have the space. That doesn't mean too much. That environment wasn't big enough for me. It didn't have what I needed, right? And then maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough because of how the adults treated me as a kid. That had nothing to do with me. I don't know emotionally what was going on with this person, but I know as a kid, I was doing my best. I was showing up and I was doing what I was supposed to do. Even if you were, broke some rules or whatever, you're good. Inherently, you are worthy and deserving. When you start to see these assumptions through your current eyes, you release this. And you can upgrade them when you use your reasoning mind and break away from this early on attachment. So step 1 is understanding where your limited assumptions are coming from. Now let's get to step 2. So now the second secret on how you can crack the code is understanding what assumption will you need. Now, a sneaky way to do that is to actually get to the end experience, the attachment that you have of if you had the experience of that wish fulfilled, your desire, then you'd get blank, okay? So for a relationship, if that's your current desire, what your wish fulfilled is, there's going to be an assumption that supports this, but at the end of the day, maybe it's about feeling deserving. Maybe it's about a desire and a need to feel seen, maybe about a sense of belonging. So what assumption would you need to have to start to connect to your need for belonging, right? That I am deserving of belonging, that I am worth belonging. How do I belong to myself? I deserve to be seen. How do I see myself? What are my current experiences with being seen? Are there different actions I could take, different things I can let go of, different fears I can face so that I can start to meet my need for belonging and start to revolutionize my experience with these assumptions so I can start to actually create the space for a relationship? Now, the same goes for money. Maybe the attachment to having the money that you're looking for is a sense of freedom, that if you had that money, you'd be able to go explore the world or have time to use the way you want to. Now, what assumption would you need to have that in your life, right? How do you associate with freedom? Maybe you had a little tiny sliver of freedom in your life so far. What did you assume to be true about yourself? Did you feel like you had to go above and beyond to work really, really, really hard? Or did it come to you naturally and then it felt really nice to have and it actually felt like it's something that you deserve? The other thing could be maybe it's about stability. So how can you get to that end emotion and then start to reformulate that assumption? Because what I'm trying to show you is you have previous experiences with these in desires. And when you can start to see that, it's going to shift that assumption right now that feels like it's blocking you. Because if you've already experienced at a low degree, well, then there's actually no block. Now all you have to do is increase the capacity in learning how to feel that and create more space by dissolving those old assumptions and the attachments to them. And then you can start to say, oh, wait a second, I have felt even just a tiny little bit stable, or I have felt seen in these moments. What did that feel like? You're tapping into those previously experienced things, and then we're going to amplify them. So now let me show you the third part that's vital for you to start to be able to crack the code to the power of the law of assumption. All right, here we are. We're going to mind the gap. I know I say it a lot, but it is so vital. This is what completely changed my life. Learning how to relate differently to new experiences and give myself a chance to make a new choice, to start to change myself. Not in one single isolated experience, by the repetition, by starting to feel the new assumption at my sensory level, knowing it was safe to have this by having these new experiences and feeling safe. So for me, let's see if we can get this in frame, kind of. Okay, mostly. Good. So here I am, or you are, whoever you want to say. And okay, from my experience, it was no text. That person that they, we're carrying on, things are great, and then all of a sudden, they go quiet. This can also be your relationship with money. Things are going good, you're making money, and then all of a sudden, your access to it seems to be cut off. So really, this is playing off of the old experiences from your childhood. Your access to having your needs met or access to the resources you need are all of a sudden cut off, and you are powerless or feel stuck or hopeless or helpless. This moment is where you can either tell the old assumption, put that meaning as, oh yeah, it's because no one ever meets my needs. I'm not good enough, right? I'm selfish if I get my needs met. And refer back to that box earlier in part 1. So really you get no text. Okay. When you start to anticipate or project that you're going to be abandoned, rejected, or left alone, when you start to think, oh no, I think that might happen, you start to get anxious. You start to compare yourself. Oh God, they're probably texting that other person. They have more to offer. I'm not actually that attractive. You've got to understand, you're starting to tell yourself that old meaning, that old assumption. That's what's feeling true. And then you're going to go right back to the past. And then your next opportunity is going to recreate the old. Now, in this moment, when you start to breathe, when you start to stay in your body, this is not very fun sometimes. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it can be rocky. You want to try to stay in your body. Feel your body. It might feel silly, but I promise what happens when you're connected to your body somatically, right? You're trying to keep your body and your mind in the same place. If not, your mind starts to hallucinate and see everything through the lens of the past, everything through the lens of that old assumption. So if you can start to prolong this reaction, okay, the story I'm telling myself is no one will ever love me, that nothing ever happens to me. But you know what? I know where that goes. That's me rejecting myself. And The whole reason I'm telling this story is because I think I'm going to be rejected. But when I tell the story, I'm rejecting myself. I'm abandoning myself. Okay, well, I can't do that anymore. Okay, what do I need right now? Maybe I need a little bit of a walk. Because a walk, what it's going to do is there's something to do with your eye, a nerve in your eye. It reduces your lens of fear because it pulls energy from your amygdala. So when you go for a walk, you're like, okay, what do I need right now? How can I take care of myself? How can I see my needs? How can I understand myself? Because my assumption is I deserve that. My assumption is I deserve to have my needs met. My assumption is I deserve and it's natural for me to be seen. So I'm going to start doing it with myself. What this is going to do is shift your assumptions so you can start picking up different info in your current 3D world right now that you can't see with the old assumptions. The more and more you do this, you stop firing and you stop wiring in the old. What does Dr. Joe said? That those synaptic connections prune apart. Then these are going to start firing and wiring together, creating a new pathway for you to perceive of those 20 to 50 million pieces of subconscious information and open up an entirely new world. We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And when we change our assumptions, we're able to see an entirely new world, and you deserve it, and you are worth those experiences in that new world. Now you might be thinking, wow, this sounds great, but how in the world would I ever be able to feel something I've never experienced? And if feeling's the secret, how can I make that happen? Well, this next video right here is going to show you literally step by step on how I crack the code to the feeling is the secret. I'm going to show you exactly how you can start doing it before you've even experienced. So check it out right here.